This is Into the Story, the podcast where you learn English with true stories from all over the world. Stories that connect us and inspire you to get where you want to go. Hi there, it's Bree, and welcome to this special bonus episode of Into the Story. Recently, I had the pleasure of joining Charlie Baxter on the British English podcast, and we had a really fun conversation all about what it's like to be a Canadian living in Spain and how I ended up here in the first place. So if you've ever wondered what brought me to this side of the world, or you just enjoy hearing about life abroad and Spanish and Catalan culture, then you're going to love this one. Let's get into the episode.
Hello and welcome back to the British English Podcast, a show in which we converse around culture whilst exposing you to some naturally spoken English. And 9 times out of 10, we have a British English speaker on here, but occasionally we allow some special people on the show. And today is one of those times because we have landed a brilliant guest for you today. And I came across this person when Martin from Rock and Roll English invited me to be a part of a WhatsApp group of fellow ESL podcasters, which was all very exciting for me. And this person kindly introduced herself. I started listening to an episode of her show, and I was gripped right from the beginning. And the reason I was gripped is because her show is all about the art of storytelling. The podcast is called Into the Story. That's Into the Story. And her aim is to help you learn real English through inspiring stories told by people from all over the world. And this host is not only a great storyteller herself, but also a fantastic storytelling coach. And the reason I know this is because she invited me on as a guest, and we worked through a story of mine until it was ready to be aired. And let me tell you, the way that she brings stories out of people, helps shape them, and coaches you through the retelling of them is just fantastic. So yes, I'm very excited to introduce you to today's guest called Bree, who is the host of the podcast called Into the Story. Hello, Bree. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm blushing now. That was a very kind introduction indeed, but I'm doing well.
Truthful. Yes. Good. You're doing well. And where are you in the world right now?
I am in Barcelona, just actually north of Barcelona. It's a very sunny day today.
Lovely. I was just in Portugal recently. I'm back in London now. It's not so sunny today. It's a typical British December day. I was about to say November. We're already in December. Yes, it's quite cloudy, overcast, and fairly cold, like under 5 degrees.
Woo!
Yeah, not great.
I'm originally from Canada, so I know all about under 5 degrees and also under minus 20 degrees.
Yes, you battle with the unbelievable cold. In my opinion, I lived in Ohio for a little bit and we experienced minus 24 degrees. And I literally couldn't believe how cold it was. Like when you're breathing, your nose hair hurts.
Yeah. It's like this feeling of like ice on your nose. And then also you get ice here on your eyelashes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and I witnessed some of the gutters where the water comes down the drain pipes and it freezes mid-drip.
Oh, yes.
Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yes, you've already said you're from Canada, but you're in Spain, and that is the theme of today's conversation. We're going to talk about what Bree thinks of the different cultures, any stereotypes perhaps she's noticed or wants to say, no, that's incorrect. And all sorts. So let's see where to start. So when did you move from Canada to Spain?
I originally started just by going on a backpacking trip, the typical backpacking trip around Europe. And that was in 2010. And then I just loved it and decided that I would love to try to stay. and stay I did. It wasn't totally legal per se, because you can only stay in Europe for 3 months. I stayed for far longer, but I did. I just loved the lifestyle. It had this essence that was different than back home.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
And so did they not tell you off when you tried to leave, or have you just stayed there forever since?
I've never left. No, I did. I left in 2011 when my nephew was born, and I flew through. I had a layover, so my plane stopped in Frankfurt. Um, and they looked at my passport kind of perplexed, and they said, "You've overstayed your visa like a lot." Like it was over a year. And I was like, "I'm so sorry. I didn't know."
What?
And they just like stamped it and said, "Don't do it again."
So you got away with saying I didn't know?
I got away with it, Charlie. I remember the feeling it is so visceral. I can picture the passport booth walking up so nervous, and then the feeling of walking like through to the other side, and then you're just in the airport, like the gift shops, the smell of perfume. I can feel all of that. I was so excited. And yeah, I got away with it. So
Nice.
that
Very
was,
good.
14 years ago, 13 years
Okay.
ago. Yeah.
And so has Spain been your home kind of since then?
Yeah. Spain has been my home. So I lived in Barcelona in the center in a little neighborhood called La Barceloneta, which is just along the beach for the first year. But I come from a place in Canada called Calgary. It's quite a big city, but I lived just outside, just towards the mountains. So just to the west. And I was
Right.
used to this, like living in a small town, more rural area, but very close to a big city. And so I kind of found that here. So I live just up the coast. I'm a half an hour drive from the center. But I get to go into the mountains, which are more like hills. There's the beach. And this is definitely home. When I fly home to Canada, I have to say I'm going to Canada. And then when I fly home, I'm coming here. So that little change in like the way you
Yes.
think about things. Yeah.
Yes.
So Catalonia, Spain is home for now.
Right. Yes. And countries and the identity around who you are obviously is a big factor as to where you call home. But I imagine getting married and having children in Spain was a big contributor to that, right?
Definitely. I mean, I never really thought I would get married. But it just happened. I mean, it didn't just happen. Obviously, my partner proposed. And at first it felt like a big responsibility to have a wedding. But we're like, no, let's just do it our way. We're not going to invite all of the cousins and uncles and aunts. We're going to invite who we want to invite. Then we found a castle on Airbnb. Only in Spain can you find a castle on Airbnb.
Wow.
So we rented a castle. And then the act of having, our favorite, friends and family come to this place and just kind of celebrate you and be together, it made me feel like this is where I belong now. This definitely. And then, of course, now I have 2 little boys. They are half Catalan, half Spanish. They speak Catalan, Spanish, and English. And that makes me feel much more from here because my children are from here. So, yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah. So they speak 3 languages.
That's right. So Catalan is not a dialect of Spanish, although some people believe it is. It is a different language. If you have people move here who speak Spanish, people from parts of, from South America, Central America, they will have to learn a new language. It follows the same grammar structure in general, except for some pronouns. But Catalan is different. It's a different language. So yes, my children, I would say first language is Catalan. Well, Catalan and Spanish, and then, Catalan and English, and then Spanish kind of came a bit later just by playing with friends in the schoolyard and hearing it in the streets.
Right. So Spanish, as I know it, is still spoken in the streets in Barcelona.
Well, It is. You could go anywhere and speak Spanish and people would understand you. But you will hear a lot of Catalan spoken in Barcelona city. The signs, a lot of them are in Catalan. But because I live just outside of Barcelona, but in a small town, it is very Catalan. When I'm walking around, besides the expats like me, people are speaking in Catalan.
Right. Okay. Okay. And would it be rude to speak in Spanish?
No. It's a bit controversial. I would say, how do I say this without being controversial? I would say that if I go somewhere and speak in Spanish, which I do, 99.9% of people would be totally fine to respond to me in Spanish. There are certain instances where that's not the case, but it's so few that it's not even worth mentioning, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can feel safe in giving my Spanish a go wherever
Definitely.
in Spain. Yeah.
Definitely. Are you learning Spanish?
Oh yeah. I lived in Chile in 2014. So I started learning a while ago and then was on and off when I was living in Germany because I was trying to pick up some German terribly. And then, I've kind of been dabbling with it for a long time. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you. Is your Spanish like nearly native, or how do you feel with it?
I would say it's a C1, an advanced.
Nice.
Maybe
Really good.
closer to C2 by now. But yeah, no, but it took me a long time. When I moved here, I spoke no Spanish. And I had no concept of what it would be to learn Spanish. I don't know if that makes sense. If you're a monolingual person, probably it does, because you just don't even have a compartment in your brain for what another language even is.
Or even the grammar of your own language.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was a really hard, dark, lonely couple of years because I didn't speak any of the language. It was, you go to a party and you can tell people like what you had for lunch that day. And then they're like, mm-hmm. And then they like move on politely to the next person. And you're like, but I'm really smart and funny in my own language. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
So becoming yourself in another language is something I'm very familiar with. And it is like having another soul. I think there's a famous quote that says that speaking another language is like possessing another soul. And it is like that. You have a different personality. I'm a lot more fiery in Spanish. I'm more direct. I'm not so concerned about being polite, because that's just not the way Spanish is. It's a direct language. It's not so, you know what I mean? English, we tend to be polite. Would you mind perhaps just moving out of my way kind of thing?
Yeah. And the equivalent is like, put me a drink now, or put me a bit of food now.
Yeah, exactly. That I would never dream of walking into a restaurant. When I go home to Canada, though, I think there's one thing about Spanish and Catalan communication, and it's interrupting. Have you ever heard of this concept of interrupting?
No.
It's just Spanish people are more, interruption doesn't have the same place as it does in English speaking worlds. For us for me in Canada, you do not interrupt anyone anytime. And if you do, you are a rude person. Or
you have to say, I'm sorry for interrupting, but
I'm sorry but you better have a good reason for it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas in Spain, it's just part of the conversation that you're all contributing to this thing that's happening, and people talk over another. And in most cases, it's not seen as rude. It's seen as enthusiastic, which is kind of nice in certain ways.
Yeah. And so that allows for the volume to increase.
The volume always goes up.
So do we start at a whisper?
Wait, they start. No, they never. That's the thing.
¿Cómo estás? Bien, gracias.
You walk into. I remember my mom came here for Christmas a few years ago, and we went into the mall, to buy some things, and she was like, "What is happening?" It sounded like you were in
I don't even know. It was so loud because there's all of these people and they're all talking over it. It's insane. In Canada, it's like a quiet experience where, yes, people are talking, but it's very controlled. Whereas there, hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, people are speaking at one time.
On top of each other.
On top of each other. Anyways.
Yeah. So festive seasons, they do Christmas Eve. Is that right? They celebrate on Christmas Eve, or depends on who and what and where?
It depends on who and what and where and how. So here there are 3 things that can be celebrated. The first is Reyes, the kings. Okay.
Oh, yes.
This is in order of importance, as far as I know. Okay. Reyes happens the night of the 5th, right? Yes. The night of the 5th, the kings come. Okay.
December.
And then of January.
Of January, yeah.
And then the 6th is like Reyes. And the kings bring presents. And this is like a very big deal. Then the second order of importance would perhaps be, no, I'm going to have to start again because this is going to be too confusing. And there's different people who have different orders. Okay, let's start with the 3 things. The 24th at night, the 24th at night, there is something that you're not going to believe. It's called Cagatillo.
Cagatillo.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So this starts before the 24th. It starts early December. The children go and find their Theo, okay, which their parents have already bought. But usually the parents plant the Theo in a forest or maybe a backyard. It depends. And what it is it's a log. If you look it up online, you'll find it. It's a log with 2 little front legs, and it has a face, little eyes, smile, and then it has a hat that kind of looks like a Santa hat, but it's not a Santa hat. It's a typical Catalan hat. The children bring this log home. They wrap it up in a blanket to keep it warm because, of course, no one likes to be cold. And then they feed it. They feed it orange peels. They feed it anything they want. They have to feed it for a very specific reason. And this is because when the 24th arrives, the children have to sing it a song. Okay, so they get a stick, which is kind of strange. They get a stick and they hit the log. They get a stick and they start hitting it, singing, Cagatillo, Tío da Nadal, no caguis arrangadas, que son masas saladas, cagaturrons, que son més bons. And then they hit it really hard on the back, and then the children leave to the other room. And the Tío poops, obviously. Because, what else do you do after someone's hit you on the back but have to poop? So the Tío poops, and it poops presents. Amazing. The kids come back underneath the blanket that's been keeping the Tío warm. Are little presents, little tiny presents, candy maybe, good things.
Oh, so not poo?
They're not poo. That would be weird.
Poo.
That would be weird.
Well, would it? Would it be weird considering the story?
Yeah.
I wanted to interrupt you with laughter all the way through that. That's amazing. Obviously, I'm not mocking the tradition, but it made me Google the image. And guys, I encourage you to Google Cagatillo, the log with the face on it. I don't know why I've never appreciated that a log can look like a face so easily if you put a few little things on it. It kind of reminds me of Thomas the Tank Engine.
I guess, yeah, because it does have that same like flat face. Thomas the Tank Engine. Yeah.
But so that's incredible. That's on the 24th.
Yes, this is the night of the 24th. 25th for many families, but this is kind of something that's come from the English-speaking countries. Santa Claus comes. Okay, he comes overnight. All around Barcelona, you will see decorations because in North America, anyway, Santa comes down the chimney. That's what he does. But here in Spain, he climbs up the balcony. And so you see like all of these decorations are hung of, it's like a little ladder, and then Santa is like climbing up into the house. It's I've break and enter situation.
Yeah. I've seen Santa climbing a balcony before, and I always wondered why.
Yeah, there you go. That's how he gets in. So he brings presents, and then the 26th is San Esteban.
I have a question. Does that mean that you have to, for the children, you have to like leave the patio sliding door open or something? You're like, you gotta let Santa in.
No, I don't think so, because Santa just knows things.
Santa just knows.
He knows how to get in without being noticed.
Yeah, good.
And then San Esteban, which is the 26th, is just a day that families get together, eat lunch. And then is Reyes. And Reyes are the kings. They come the night of the 5th. Children wake up on the 6th, January, to lots of presents. Now, in my husband's family, this was the big thing, was Reyes, when you would get the big presents.
Right.
So yeah, 3 different things.
So you got to wait until then.
Exactly. You have to wait. And for me, it just feels like the Christmas season should be over. After New Year's, it's done. But no, it goes for another week. The Spanish just love their festive things that they just, let's just add on another week.
Yeah, I suppose the weather's not as bad, but that kind of helps elongate the happiness, right? Yeah,
exactly. But there's so many fiestas here that I don't know why they need an extra. Well, why not if you can have it? But then there's Carnaval, there's San Jordi, which is in April in Catalonia. And then comes the summer, and the start of the summer marks the start of Fiesta season, I call it. And every town, the patron saint of the church, there's a big fiesta. So fireworks, correfoc. Correfoc is, they basically dance in the streets with fire. It's very dangerous and terrifying.
Yeah, that does sound terrible.
But it's really, really fun.
Actually, I would enjoy watching that. No, I would like that. Yeah, I always like the people that do stuff at the traffic lights. I noticed that in Chile, and I actually saw it in Portugal a little bit. Do they do it in Spain much? Like the juggling in front of the traffic lights?
I've seen it in the city, not out here, but I have seen it in the city for sure.
Yeah, I think that is a must-have in the ideal. If we were to make a baby from all of the favorite bits of culture, I would include that. I think why not be entertained while you're bored waiting?
Because we don't have enough constant entertainment, right? We don't have enough constant like dopamine in our brains with no effort. We need more. Like I can't sit at a stoplight. I need someone to be dancing outside of my car for me.
Exactly. Yeah. Because otherwise people will go on their phone.
That's true. Well, that's true.
But yeah, no.
Anyways,
too much stimulation. All right, let's go through some stereotypes.
Okay, let's do it.
We've touched on some culture already, which is lovely. Let's see about this first one. Spanish people take siestas every day, and they're experts at it. Is this a myth? Is this spot on? What do we think about this one, Bree?
I would say that Spanish people are far more likely to take siestas than Canadians. That I can say for sure. Do they take it every day? Probably not. Not the people I know. But they are very good at it. I do not take siestas as an adult because I sleep for 2 hours. So I have not had a siesta in years because I can't. But they will have like a half an hour or 20-minute lay down, close their eyes. Maybe they don't go into like deep sleep, but they are resting. So yeah, I would say it's kind of true.
Does that lead to not wanting to send messages or call people during that hour?
No, I don't know anything about wait, let's see. For example, on a Saturday or Sunday, who calls people anyway, right? Nobody calls people anymore.
Just me. No one picks up. I don't know why.
No, but you would know from like 2 to 5 is not a time you're going to plan things. That's kind of like a sacred hour, especially on a Sunday, because usually that's when you're with family. You wouldn't plan something then.
Okay, that says a lot, I think.
Yeah?
If you're not planning that hour, because that wouldn't be a thing in England. You would obviously include that period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But that is impressive that they do the power nap. I wouldn't do well with that either. I would need far longer.
No.
Yeah. But it makes sense in the heat of the day to have a break.
Yeah, absolutely. Here in the summer, especially with small kids, we are at the beach constantly, and we go and we try to be there at like 9:30 and be home by 11:30, and then we go back out again at 5.
Right. Yeah.
Because during the middle of the day is torture. It's way too hot, especially for little ones.
Yeah, you don't want to get scorched.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about tardiness, being late?
It is 100% true. It is true.
They are late.
They are late. Okay.
Yes. Are they late in their opinion?
Psychologically, I don't know the answer to that. I think, let's put it this way. So let's talk about a social gathering. Okay. Someone has organized a gathering at their house, which actually isn't that common. Usually you would get together at a restaurant, but to arrive on time would be very unusual.
Okay.
To arrive anywhere between on time and say 20 minutes, totally normal. 20 minutes to 30 minutes, still normal. Later than that, maybe you would say something, maybe not. But up into an hour, it's not like insane. It's something that's happens all the time.
Right. And to compare, is it like in England where early? No. Don't come early. You're burdening us. We need all the time to prepare. And then you're allowed 5 to 10 minute window, and then you have to apologize for being late. Is that around the same in Canada?
Yes. Yeah. No. You wouldn't arrive early, ever, obviously, in Canada. You would arrive on time, but very punctual. I find it very stressful going home because I know I need to be at the place between on time and say 5 minutes or 10 minutes. 10 minutes is even pushing it, strangely. Whereas here, on time, you wouldn't arrive. It would be an inconvenience. 15 minutes or 20 minutes, I would say, is optimal. But later than that, you could be late. And I don't hear people apologizing. Oh, no, I don't. I really have never heard that. It's just like, well, I'm here now. So
has your Canadian brain let go of needing the apology?
Yes, I think so.
Or maybe you weren't like that before. I don't know.
I don't think I was like that. But I do have more of because in Canada, it's like so strict of you arrive on time because if you don't, you're being disrespectful to that person or those people, right? It is, and Canada is all about politeness and being respectful of other people. I'd say that's a value we have. Whereas Spain doesn't hold that value so highly. They have other values. So it's like, if I arrive late, it's because I did. Who knows? I had other things happening or I couldn't get here. Whereas in Canada, you're expected to kill yourself, to murder your significant other, to kidnap your children and put them in their chair and strap them in no matter what.
I'd love to know if that has a direct correlation with the number of arguments couples have. being punctual, a culture, because that is a guaranteed thing. One person is more punctual than the other in a relationship.
Which one are you? Which one are you?
I'm the late one.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it very clear? Your wife is on time and you're just a disaster, or?
I think I've slowly, what's the phrase? Worn her down to the point where she's no longer as punctual as she would have liked to be or would like to be. But she still holds that as a very important value. I think kind of more like Spanish people, perhaps, get there when you get there. If I am waiting for you, I'm happy. I don't mind waiting a little bit. That's absolutely fine. So I don't think I'm too bothered by it. But yeah, the partners are always going to slightly vary on that.
Yeah.
And so
always.
Yeah. Punctuality, if that's a thing in the culture, surely that means more arguments.
I think so. We have more arguments. I am more stressed when I'm back in Canada because we spend July and August in Canada. And I just find it's so hard to not only take 2 small children, but then also a Spanish Catalan husband and fit them into Canadian life where you have lunches and you have to like do things at specific times. It's like trying to herd cats, you know? It's like trying to make people fit into a box that they're not meant to fit into. So yeah, I think that more punctual cultures probably have more disagreements, let's say.
We will be leaving the free version of this episode here for today. But if you did want to continue listening to this conversation, then head over to the BritishEnglishPodcast.com, where you can sign up to the Premium Podcast or the Academy. The Premium Podcast gives you the ad-free version with transcripts, a full glossary and flashcards, whereas the Academy gives you all of that plus a whole lot more, including vocab video lessons, writing assignments, weekly Zoom classes, and you can also get paired with a new speaking partner of a similar level to yours each month to really get your speaking practice in. But if you were just here for the free version of this episode, then I thank you very much. Congratulations for getting to the end of this part, and I hope to see you back here next week for another episode. I've been your host, Charlie, on the British English Podcast.
And that is it for this bonus episode. I will be back next week with another incredible story. Until then, I hope that you have a good time, or at least a good story to tell.